How can I have a great experience but a horrible interview? How does that make any sense? But it does make sense. It does. I passed, but I failed. Okay, so obviously today's a new day because for the first time in my videos, I have actual jeans on and I'm actually dressed. I'm not dressed like a bum today, so it's gonna be a great video. If I could just center myself. Hello, what's up? My name is Larry and welcome to Dummy Codes, where we talk about my failures, where we talk about coding, where we talk about your failures and your stories. One of the first videos to actually do well on my channel was about interviewing and the horrible interview experience, and I thought maybe I should milk that again because I have another story, but it's a little bit different this time. So a couple weeks ago, you guys remember I said that I had another job interview, which, as you guys know, is a horrible experience for me because, you know, I deal with just freezing up during technical tests, but surprising enough, this one went pretty okay. I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for an update about how this interview went. Obviously, I'm still unemployed, so let's guess what happened. So this interview was a very, very weird interview for me because everything went right and I still didn't get the job. I had put out my resume somewhere and they actually reached out to me saying, hey, you look really interesting. I know you don't have the proper experience of this role, but we're actually still interested in talking to you because of your past. And I said, wow, this is nice. I didn't have to apply for this. They just want to talk to me, which is rare. I've only had 2 people ever reach out to me just because my stuff was out there. Side note here, they are a startup. They're a very young startup, by the way. They went through that competition that I was talking about where you win $150,000 basically, and they help you do your startup. They went through that channel and they had, you know, a couple mil in funding, not too much. Point is, I was going to be the 4th member on their team. So I interviewed with one of the co-founders, and I think he was a CEO actually. I interviewed with him, and the experience was just, you know, the whole interview experience, I wasn't nervous at all. At first I was very nervous. And then later on, I was like, I actually like this guy. I don't have to fake anything. Like, this is a decent person and I like what they're talking about, what they're about. And so, wow, this is what it feels like to be interested in a company that you're applying for, because that's a first. So our conversation was great. And then he tells me, hey, I got to talk to the rest of the team. There's 2 more people, I think. He said, I got to talk to them and see what they think about you. So they talked to them. Next up, I interviewed their lead developer. And as you guys know, I get so terrified. Doesn't matter what the situation is. Testing is not my thing. Just give me the job and I promise you I'll do well. But testing is not my thing. But obviously, if you guys have ever dealt with any type of test anxiety, it's just like, you know what you got to do, but for some reason you've just frozen up because you're scared, because you've just been thinking, oh my gosh, it's such a big deal, it's such a big deal. And for me, it's even worse because I have a different background. It's rare for me to just get interviews. Each interview, like, it matters a lot to me, and I always want to do my best at it. So the interview begins, and of course, because of me being me, I'm just like, I want you guys to know, when I kind of like overviewed the question and the problem that I was given, I already know how to do it. I've done it a billion times, you know? It wasn't a hard thing for me to handle. It was literally talking to the back end. If you guys know what that is, you guys know what that is. But for some reason, when I started this interview, I just started typing. I kind of understood what he was asking, but I just started typing, which is stupid because in my head, I knew what he was asking for, but I didn't read the precise instructions for this specific problem. So I just start typing and he's like, and I'm like, oh. So I sit down, he gives me a little hint, I fix my mistake, and then the rest should just be easy going, right? So while doing this test, I ask him, hey, I've actually done this before. Is it okay if I just refactor my code for this? And he was like, of course, I don't care. What kind of person would I be if I just told you to have to memorize it from the brain? Like, of course, you can do whatever you want. You can use Google, you can do. I was like, great. Thank you so much for understanding that. I love when I love when people are just understanding of real world, real life type situations where obviously no matter how much experience you have, you're not just going to memorize code. You're not just always going to know what's up because, oh, I have 10 years of experience or it doesn't matter, right? That's not how the human brain works, especially with programming. There's so many things to remember with programming. So I refactor my code, change a couple things around, and for the first time ever, I passed a technical test, right? I'm not going to lie to you guys. There were some speed bumps, but I passed it. I was... Yes. Also before that, he had given me some technical questions and I felt like I was pretty solid. I answered what I could and I was straight up about what I couldn't. Obviously, I want you guys to know, if you make up an answer that's such obvious BS, the interviewer is going to notice that. Just like if you ask me, hey, what's my favorite color? I say red. See how fast I say that? Because I already know. You know, like you don't want to sound like you're guessing the answer. So I was just very honest and he was like, oh, that's okay. You know, I was like, I've never experienced that, never researched that, but that's an interesting question. If you guys have any tips about how to go around questions that you don't have the answer to when you're just being asked simple technical questions, let me know, because maybe that's the reason I didn't get the job. During the interview, by the way, I've never had a tech interview where I'm just laughing with a guy talking like he's my buddy. It was a great interview experience, but unfortunately they said, we'll get back to you by the end of the week. And they didn't get back to me, and I emailed them. I was like, hey, just following up. And typically, if you have to follow up with them, it means you didn't get the job, which is perfectly, it sucks. I've only had a handful of interviews, right? And usually if I do bad or whatever the case is, I don't even think about it, because why dwell on your failures? But this was a minor success. This close. I was this close to getting a job. It was different because I couldn't stop thinking about it for once. Like, I had something to look forward to, and it's such a weird feeling. Follow up with them, and they said, unfortunately, you just don't have the experience of this, which is weird for me because I was like, you guys hit me up knowing I didn't have the experience, but maybe that's just their blanket statement saying that, hey, whatever you did, we just didn't like it enough. Keep in mind, the tech interview started with a tech lead saying, I heard great things about you. And I've never had someone say, I heard great things about you. And that heard great things came directly from the CEO of the company. So I was like, I'm in. All I had to do was pass this test, and I did. And so the whole week I was just confident, you know, I was happy. Turns out I didn't get it, and that's perfectly fine. And you know why that's perfectly fine? I kind of put myself in their shoes, right? Thing with this company, they were very honest with me. They said, hey, we have this much money. We might not be here in a year and a half. Are you down for that? I said, of course. I love stress. Of course, I'm down to grind. If you have a startup, hire me. No, but I said, of course, I'm down to work through whatever. I don't care. It's not about the money. It's about the experience for me. They were very honest. And if I was in a position where I had a startup and I was, you know, it's pass or fail with startups, as you guys know, it's very risky. The person I'm bringing on better be obviously experienced, or if they're not experienced, they better impress me. And my assumption from their perspective is that, yes, I impressed them in the beginning, but the technical interview, they were just like, or maybe I impressed them all the way throughout, but they just made a group decision not to hire me because they need all hands on deck. They probably don't have as much time to mentor me as, say, like Facebook would or Google would, right? Which I completely understand. But yeah, my emotions were definitely messed with. Also, I remember when I was saying, I'm going to study all these front-end questions, every question that I wasted time studying was not asked. The tech lead was just literally making up questions as he went, which is perfectly fine, right? But every question that I studied for, none of them were asked, and I went over like 50 questions. So really, guys, is the best way to get around these things is just to code, and understand what you're coding. You know, don't just copy and paste code. Don't just refactor code all the time. Like, genuinely, if you're going to refactor your code, if you're going to copy and paste code, make sure you understand the ins and outs of how it's working before you try to implement it yourself. Because otherwise, if someone is going to be like, explain your code, I don't know. That's it for me. Great experience, but horrible interview. It's still a failure. It's a failure, but we learned a lot. How can I have a great experience but a horrible interview? How does that make any sense? But it does make sense. It does. I passed, but I failed. Thank you for watching. Welcome to Dummy Codes. Make sure to hit a like before you leave. I appreciate it. It will help this channel greatly. And I have another video I was supposed to make, so I'm going to do that right now. Goodbye.